Welcome, everyone, to another week of This Week in Crypto. I'm your host, Brian. We should have Maxim joining us shortly, and the two of us will be talking about all of the ups and downs of the crypto markets over the past week and exactly what they've meant according to the on-chain and social metrics that are out there right now. We have a bit of a rally going on, as you can see over the past 24 hours, especially once we get into the mid-cap area. There's quite a bit of climbing going on in terms of market cap rises. Thank you, Maxim. Yeah, we'll see you on in just a moment. In terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum, yeah, Bitcoin's sneaking up pretty close again to 100K. It was kind of a surprise to many traders who have been getting comfortable with a ranging pattern of anywhere between 94K to that 97 range. And here we are at about 98.9 right now, on the cusp of kind of hitting that social, psychological support level that changes a lot, right? The moods just kind of spin on a very quick axis once we start to see these psychological barriers get broken, and 100K is, as you would imagine, one of the biggest. The media starts to perceive crypto in a little more of a bullish light when we're seeing a six-figure value. So does the crowd. And then, whales and sharks will tend to react to that, and they might begin to sell if the crowd is starting to FOMO and wanting to buy everything they see, just because Bitcoin is above their comfort level once again. Other people, especially on Santiment and many of the staff members here, see a rise as a bit of a sell signal or a profit-taking signal because they know that the crowd is going to overreact to it. So if you've watched many of these videos or seen our content, you'll know that we very vocally explain that the markets move the opposite direction of the crowd's expectations. And if the crowd expects a bullish breakout just because Bitcoin is above 100K or a certain level, that's when you can comfortably take a little bit of profit most of the time. So all of that said, to take a few of the biggest anomalies over the past 24 hours, we see SWI here up about 8.2%. BitGet token has been on quite a run as well, up 11.8. Sonic, which was previously FTM, it's up 19.2% now. Wrapped Phantom right there along with it. Sonic was previously Phantom, so makes sense. Jupiter up 11.5%, and the volume is up about 3%. We have a bit of an anomaly going on with our screener market cap, so we apologize for that, but that should be resolved pretty soon with our developers. And then we can also see if we sort by development activity, it's a lot of the usual suspects. Internet Computer should be right up there at the top alongside Chainlink. Let's see if it pops up. Maxim, if you're there, can you say a word or two?
Yes, I'm
there.
Here.
He is.
Yeah.
Hey, how is everything
nice finally
going?
could join you.
I know.
Good. Thanks for moving it 1 hour earlier, so I can stay at least for half an hour.
Of course, we always find the time zones that work best for us both. So glad you are here. I was just kind of going over the little bit of a rise that we're seeing all of a sudden. So what's your take on where we're standing right now as we head into the weekend?
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. I hoped, I don't know if I need to give up my hope. We will see at least one more low for Ethereum eventually, so they can load at the backs more. Mm-hmm. But there were enough reasons, in our Discord private group, I said that now time to go up. But I also think that usually I'm one wave before, one wave too early, so I think, okay, maybe I'm too early, so one more dip at least. But there are reasons. There are reasons to stay quite positive. Founding rates for a long time. If you check this, the most advanced dashboard for founding, no, not founding rates. No, sorry, borrowing lending rates. They are 4.5 for quite some time. and 4.5 it's exactly like now Fed rate, which for crypto usually sign it's where we get to the point when market cooled enough. So that's one thing, and of course on the Bitcoin level it's the same picture. You've seen it yourself: retail not buying, only wealth accumulating. And most of the time, actually, till now it was always the sign we will go higher eventually. So the question now, a bit later. So there are enough always reason to see it higher. It's just when I was 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago looking into pattern, which we had since, I don't know, 24, like long rise, it's possible to count completely 5 Whales Up. Yeah, so we need to play it, especially now carefully, especially carefully. There is a chance that it's kind of can turn into a fake bull rally. So, yeah, Bitcoin might keep sliding up or going up again and again, unless we see change in behavior of small hodlers. So
Yeah.
on the coin, I'm relatively positive here. For Ethereum, also positive, just because it was so negative sentiment I've never seen for Ethereum. Even after the DAO event, it was not so negative, like really wow. Vitalik was criticized when he saw that. It's like was wow, the worst I've ever seen for Ethereum.
Right.
Which is one of the most fair and open and decentralized and really like idealistic projects. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say, I completely agree. Ethereum's really had a hard time getting fanfare over the past, I guess,
which
a
is
full year or so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, the price struggled now when we know, okay, for a year, but
Right.
intensified the last 2 months was really, really, really harsh. And it's typical for bottom. That's what you see at the bottom. Someone like Vitalik, who's supposed to be a god or was considered as a god, crypto god, now became like gold for scolding. So
Right.
I've seen it so many times. Every single time it's the same story. Yeah, but for Solana, I wasn't so positive just because everyone is positive or was positive. Now I don't know if it changed. I'm more looking into like hyperliquid, maybe even Ton. Maybe no one is really speaking about Ton anymore, and it's always a good sign. You remember one of our setups? We like to go Bitcoin long when dominance, social dominance goes below 20 or even 15%. It means no one talking about Bitcoin. Everyone is now again focused on meme coins or whatever the narrative is. Now it's time to buy Bitcoin. The same for Ton now. No one is talking about it anymore. You remember how popular it was when all this tapping games appeared? Wow, it was so hyped. And since then, the price again 50% or more crashed. No one is talking. So I'm. It's a risky game, but looks quite interesting. So hyperliquid and Ton. So no, Solana for me no. I might be wrong.
You were certain that Ton would be under $4 throughout the end of 2024. You were saying that.
Yes.
And here we are at 368 at this time. Yeah. So I agree. I mean, what goes up must go down. And there was a ton of outliers at the end of 2024 where, we didn't exactly expect a crash in 2025, but we did expect that the major outliers, the ones that were really overperforming, would come back to earth eventually, and Ton and Hyperliquid were a few of those. So,
Hyperliquid is a new beloved, but you mentioned the reason I brought out also Hyper. You mentioned this project which was previously Phantom. What was the name of it?
Sonic.
Green Spike. Yeah. Sonic, it's a kind of perceived to be by community also in a similar area like Hyperliquid is also everything. It's by Andrei Korniev. And he has a track record of delivering or sometimes freaking out, but he's anyway a talented guy. And at least from what I see in the channels discussed, it has good metrics of traction. No. When too many people discuss, maybe it's already getting out of hype, or maybe just entering the hype. So Hyperliquid, Sonic, there is enough competition to what Solana did. And open question, of course, if they succeed, but speculators might be big ones, be waiting about Solana. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of different mini stories going on in terms of altcoins that are being overhyped or underhyped. Obviously, Sonic is getting a lot more attention now that it is, for one, named Sonic, and for two, being the best performer among the top 50 market cap assets out there right now. And we can look at some of the sentiments here over the next 20 to 30 minutes or so, alongside some on-chains for Bitcoin, and we're definitely going to check out how the whales are doing. As promised, right at the beginning of the call, I did want to go through the top 10 really quick of the development activity leaders. And as mentioned, Internet Computer and Chainlink here are still at the number 1 and 2 spots, and by a pretty large margin. You can see 809 GitHub events that are notable per day for ICP, 691 for Chainlink. And then going down the list, we have Cardano, Optimism, Hedera, Starknet, Ethereum all the way up at 7. I haven't seen it crack the top 7 in quite some time. Kusama and Polkadot sharing a GitHub repository. They're still here in the top 10 at 8 and 9. And then Eigenlayer here at number 10. Interesting to see. Sui down here at 14 is notable. The Graph at 16 is interesting. Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin has also emerged as a top 20 developing asset. So keep that in mind for the long term. These aren't, the development activity metric is not going to be a short-term metric to tell you which assets to immediately buy and sell, but we do tend to see the cream rise to the top over time. It's not a coincidence that so many of these are in the top 100 or even top 50 market cap ranks. So just wanted to mention that. Why don't we look now at the whale activity for Bitcoin here, just to give a brief glimpse at what the key stakeholders are doing. I'm going to zoom out to the last year here. And yeah, from what I am seeing here, Maxim, there's not much of a slowdown in accumulation. It's just been a steady upstream pretty much since mid-January, right before the Trump inauguration. You know, we saw this big climb at the end of 2024 after he was elected. And then from Christmas to about the midpoint of January, whales took a little bit of a breather. And that's when we started to see Bitcoin's momentum come to a halt. And we really roller coastered up and down. But as we can see, you know, it made that all-time high right before he was inaugurated. And it really has not stopped in terms of accumulation ever since, even though price has had its struggles maintaining that bullish momentum we saw at the end of 2024. So from my perspective, Maxim, it still looks like a vote of confidence that the 10 plus BTC wallets are going up. Yeah.
On top of it, and I will try to speak a bit slower and more clear. There was a comment in YouTube, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm really not having my usual high quality microphone with me. So I will try to speak a bit slower. If you place or if you look into the chart where we show network realized profit loss, open it. There are good signs there too.
We'll just put it on the same chart here. So here's the latest.
You see, yes, exactly. So there's been a period of time when it declined. So we were cautious. Now we saw some spikes. Ideally, we should see a few more, showing that enough people believe, okay, it's a good level. I need to take my profit. I need to fix my profits. So they don't believe 100% into further growth. If we see at least 1 or 2 spikes, which we see so recently, this is really that will be a really good sign, combined with well accumulation, retail lacking any accumulation, and enough signs of people saying, okay, I need to take profits. So it's a good setup.
Yeah, so to clarify, when prices are climbing, you want to see a lot of profit taking going on, because that is signaling that the retail crowd is taking a large amount of their coins and essentially cashing them out, realizing those profits, and allowing the rally to continue by key stakeholders then accumulating them and pumping up prices further. Is that a fair explanation of this? Because I know you like this metric and follow it more than I do.
Yeah, it's good enough. Good enough. Yeah.
Okay. The cliff notes, if you will. But we've written a more extensive article about that metric if you want to look into it on the Santiment Insights channel, which, by the way, we just put out a biweekly market update where we discussed the reaction to the inflation that happened about 7 to 10 days ago, the CPI report, as well as the scandals going on with assets like Libra and the Argentinian president's involvement and all of that. So if you're interested in how some of the real world impact is landing with markets right now, I definitely recommend checking out the article. I'm not going to go through all the subjects right now, but I did mention a little bit of the FUD going on. You see the big spike in CPI and inflation mentions right there. We compared the whale behavior in 2022 as it was going way down to what we're seeing now as it's going way up, because a lot of people are comparing the interest rate rises of 2022 to the interest rate halts that are going on now and fearing that we might see a 2022-esque collapse. And the whale behavior is essentially the complete opposite, which is why, at least historically, the data would point to us not seeing anything like 2022, and at worst, probably continuing to range. That's kind of a very broad macro view of it. Of course, there's tons of more short-term signals that could point to something else, but I definitely recommend checking out this segment because it's a pretty good argument for why we're not going to go the way the very vocal bears are saying we're going to go. Also, the fact that we're in a negative range for average trading returns for Bitcoin, that's a good sign. Mean dollar invested age. Maxim, I know we both love this metric as a mid and long-term indicator. It's still staying quite low. So the dormant activity is definitely healthy enough right now to justify some sort of rally coming up. We'll find out whether that happens in the near future, but we usually don't see a huge collapse while the mean dollar invested age is doing this, at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, long story short, check out the biweekly market update. We put a lot of love into it to make sure that you're getting all of the biggest stories and you're up to date on the major metrics for Bitcoin and how it's affecting all of crypto right now. Let's move on to some on-chain metrics for Bitcoin now, and we'll get to a few other assets as the call progresses as well. So looking at the transaction volume of Bitcoin, continuing to decline. We hit our high point back here around early December, and we can clearly see the downward momentum of on-chain volume, and prices have kind of ranged ever since, if you want to look at it in that perspective. And kind of the same story going on for active addresses and circulation. So all three of them are on the decline. Not the best picture. We want to see over time, on a long-term perspective, growing on-chain activity, and that's not the case. Just keep in mind, all it takes sometimes is a spark from key stakeholders pushing prices above 100K, for example. That can suddenly make active addresses, circulation, on-chain transaction volume all come to life at once. We just touched on MVRV, which is now actually barely below 0%, just by a hair for the addresses that have been active in the past 30 days. So as long as we're under 0%, still indicates that you would be owning or buying Bitcoin at a better point than average, according to those competing traders out there, if you will. Funding rate, you mentioned this, Maxim, still quite even. I'm not seeing anything too significant in either direction.
Open Solana. That was interesting. Volatile week for Solana in terms of funding rates here.
Okay. So Solana's funding rate,
Yeah.
if we just
take it,
zoom in a little bit here, that'll make it easier.
Yes, yes.
So this is Solana
Maybe,
on Binance.
Yeah, it's just jumping up and down, up and down. I think it reached the level where enough people believed it can go lower. There was a long time when no one wanted to believe Solana can crash just because it's all cool, so many meme coins. Now it reached the stage a few weeks ago where some people say, okay, why don't we speculate on going down? This is probably the most interesting case in terms of funding rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Solana has had its share of FUD over the past couple of weeks. A little bit of network inconsistency has caused that. And more than anything, I should say, has been the big price downswing. Just over the past 4 weeks or so, we've seen its price drop by a little over 30%. That's a pretty big retrace for a top 6 asset in crypto. So naturally, there's going to be a lot more negativity and people reacting to the downswing, trying to find ways to make money off of it. So they're basically saying, all right, well, I might as well bet against the asset and hope it continues to drop. And more often than not, a big short like this or this is eventually going to be met with liquidations and cause prices to bounce back up. So if you're holding a coin, you actually are rooting for the crowd to be betting against it, because the prices usually move the opposite direction of the crowd's expectations. So right now we're seeing a very neutral signal, but if you start to see Solana or one of your other favorite assets starting to dip into the red because the crowd is frustrated and wanting to bet against it now, take that as a vote of confidence that you can long with less worries than usual.
Can you take aggregated funding rate? I think it's called funding rate aggregated by the asset, something like this. Yeah, funding rate aggregated by
asset.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So we'll put it right here.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I just wanted to follow up on your thought on idea. It's not so simple as people think that you should probably combine it with other metrics. In some assets, if it's not Solana, it would be easier, but Solana has a very complicated setup of stakeholders who are involved. But even here, quite often, big spikes of negative sentiment shown through negative funding rate kind of either stabilized. I see it was on 3rd of February, price stabilized for quite a long time. But then looks like new money came, so the push down, and the latest increased on, when was it? I see 17 February. Yeah, that was a spike, and then yeah, price kind of trying to revert, but I don't know. Looking at this metric alone, it actually looks possible it will go down again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not extremely negative anymore. Yeah, it's actually a little bit like positive funding rate, but I mean, it's too little. Yeah. I would be more confident if I would see a stronger spike. Yeah.
Maxim, would you mind explaining the difference between regular funding rate and the aggregated by asset one? What is the measurement here?
Oh, it's just we take across all exchanges, and it's weighted by open interest, and then this number gets, it's just some mathematics in background. So if you want to have a total overview of funding rates across all exchanges.
Got it. Okay. So it's kind of a more comprehensive funding rate measurement that's looking at
yes
tons of different exchanges. That's nice.
Yes.
Okay. I'll start trying to use that more myself and dig into it a little.
Use both. We've seen cases where for some assets, you just look into Binance, or there was a time looking on DYDX. It gives you very great insight into what's going on. But yeah, but there is aggregated metric. So it's a simple like first view, which you can get.
Gotcha. I also, while we're on Solana, wanted to look at how the social dominance is fluctuating. And you can see this big spike that just happened, a few days ago, 17th and 18th. And also the level of sentiment, you can see big negative spike here. So like if this is about the average for the green line, give or take, we saw way below after the collapse from its 280-ish, 290 level, and then another big one just a few days ago. And you can see how prices bounced precisely when the negative sentiment was low. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So this was the latest, or I'm sorry, the January negative spike, and then this was the latest one over here. And you can see right as the crowd was getting extremely negative, we see a little bit of a rise, and prices have actually gone up a little over 9% since. So again, you want to be in when others are really down on an asset. And Solana has been a good example because it's such a sentiment-driven asset, especially when you combine it with a high spike of social dominance. So lots and lots and lots of discussion combined with an extreme polar sentiment really can indicate that a price pivot is about to happen. And that was exactly what we saw on the 18th of February. So look for another one. We might see it happen on the positive side where there's a big social dominance spike and a lot of people that are suddenly really bullish on Solana. That would be an indicate that it's time to take profit. But right now, it actually is seeing some good momentum from the bullish side because of all the negativity that just happened a few days ago.
Yeah, but still, stay, how to say, safe,
Cautious.
cautious. Yes. It's a kind of recovered sentiment. It's not so negative anymore, so it can go down now.
Right.
At least to retest the lows. We didn't see an honest attempt to retest the lows. Let's see if it happens now. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And if we look at Bitcoin now, we're kind of seeing it's more in the neutral range. So give or take, if I look at the past 2 months or so, this is about the average point of positive versus negative sentiment. We've actually crept just slightly above it now. And this is no surprise. Like I said at the beginning of the call, if we're getting very close to 100K like we are now, suddenly the crowd is going to get hyped and be like, oh, my favorite number is about to get crossed again. I'm going to start buying in anticipation of us going to 100K and zooming right back to 109, our all-time high. So people are getting bullish once again, and this isn't the best sign. We want them to really be jaded and doubtful of any potential rally that's forming.
Yeah, and ideally, as we mentioned before, social dominance goes lower, so that attention moved to something else. Ideally,
good point.
I mean, yeah. If you take two showcases, can you take like 6 months here? And where is the price? Price is good. Yeah, exactly. So whenever it goes down, it's most of the time good indicator. Going down, and then also negative sentiment.
Yeah, that reminds me, we can check on how social dominance is compared between the top layer ones, top layer twos, and top meme coins. And green is going to be, heavily weighted with Bitcoin. Purple, you have a lot more assets like Matic, Mantle, Arbitrum, Immutable X, Optimism, and Starknet. And then the top 6 meme coins are, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Pepe, Dog with Hat, Bonk, Floki. I know there's been a little bit of shuffling there, but this was a template I made about 6 months ago, and it's still very relevant to see how much greed there is toward meme coins and how much conversations are veering more toward the top cap assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum. XRP, stuff like that. So right now, we're seeing a continued rise in layer one interest. So a healthy amount of discussion related to the top cap assets, the very largest coins in crypto. And the conversations about meme coins are actually still pretty suppressed because, quite frankly, there's been a lack of confidence in them throughout 2025, really, due to stuff like
You're
Libra
very
happening. Yeah.
you are very politically correct. I mean, people now, I think, much more negative than what you say. I mean, they think it's a disaster, and or not all, but many people who are behind the scene organizing Libra and other coins have to be in prison. Of course,
Yeah.
because they lost a lot of money. Yeah, normal speculators, investors into meme coins or in Solana too, and they blame now. Typical setup, yeah, after cycles is closed. And there is a good chance that meme cycle is over. Yeah. But
Yeah,
let's see.
it definitely seems that way based on the crowd interest levels. There's just a very low amount of discussion compared to what we were seeing during the major hype in late 2024. If we go to social trends, in fact, we can look at, meme coin or meme coins, or we'll put it in two words as well and just combine all of those. And it's kind of we're at pretty much the lowest point we saw since the end of 2024. Just very little discussion related to them right now. That's kind of a good thing at the end of the day. You don't want to have the crowd interest all veering toward these speculative assets. Right now, they're kind of veering back toward the top caps as a relative safe haven because traders are trying to de-risk a little bit and stop their bleeding that they've experienced throughout the early part of 2025. And while we're at the social trends page, we can also look at this, which has become a very solid indicator for a swing trading, at least. We're looking at, in blue, the mentions of 90 to 95K Bitcoin, which is about, 4K below where we are right now. And we can also look in red at 110 to 115. These are the levels that we have not ever seen before because the all-time high is in the 109Ks. So when people start to dream about new all-time highs, that's going to be a signal of greed. You can see most prominently how much this indicator signaled the top back on December 15th. You kind of saw it on January 19th as everyone was, or not everyone, but people who are believers in Trump's pro-crypto presidency, they were very hyped here right before he was inaugurated. And then we saw that big all-time high top and collapse right after. This was a sign of fear right here, interestingly. And then this was the latest fear signal on February 17th. We just go to the past week or so, and we'll go to just maybe 4-hour intervals to make it a little more clear. So yeah, look at this. Big fear spike right here. 90 to 95K is mentioned as we kind of collapse into that range, and people are speculating we could go lower and lower, and then all of a sudden we bounce. A little bit of a greed spike here, and it's been up and down ever since. But look for, especially while prices are a little sideways, look for traders mentioning low prices as a good buy signal and high prices as a good sell signal. And you can even break it down by different platforms if that interests you. X usually gets the most volume out of any. And right now, interestingly, there's a lot more 110 to 115K mentions than there are the low mentions of 90 to 95. So just wanted to point that out as well. While we're here, let's also take a look at the crypto narratives. And the page is blank. That's not good. Try a hard refresh. Nope. Let's try alpha narratives. There we go. All right, so shout out to Alex of the Santiment team. He's worked hard at getting all of these different topics on their own axis so we can get a better understanding of when they're individually moving up or down. We can see mentions like a bear market are starting to move down because prices have been climbing. As I mentioned, people get excited about the 100K level. So the narrative about us being in a bear cycle starts to evaporate all of a sudden. No surprise there. Ethereum starting to get a little more hype. Stable coins are actually getting increased discussion. There's been a little bit of debate about Tether's solvency. This always happens 2-3 times a year. So that's been picking up. Layer one's really starting to get a little more discussion. So obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Avalanche, assets like that are starting to be discussed more. AI tokens.
Yeah, you can check alpha narratives. I think it's been updated.
All right.
Yeah,
so
yes, I think
here's
it's
the
yes. This is the most, and actually interface has been updated. Do you know about?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing it.
Yes. It's on the top. You see different topics, so you can highlight any of them, and go there and highlight it on the chart. So it's a bit more advanced than before.
Yeah, it looks a lot.
How one narrative followed by others. I think it becomes more and more visually appealing to those who wants to research it and see what happened in the last week. Yeah.
It's much better. Yeah, big shout out to the developers for putting this revised version together. I think it looks great. You can see when Bitcoin is starting to rise again, like it slightly is at the moment. AI is having a slight resurgence. Dogecoin, interestingly, is being talked about more. Solana is still way down. Meme coin is still way down. Libra, people are finally kind of giving up on the topic a little bit after it was by far the big topic of the week at the start of the week, Monday especially. GameFi, not much. Kaido has been a big discussion this week. Ethereum, not much, and DeFi, not much right now. But yeah, really cool to see. And all you have to do is just highlight one of these segments, either up here or directly on the chart, and you'll see on the left side of my screen, it's instantly jumping to that topic to give you an explanation of why it's being talked about a lot. I think this is a great start anytime you open up Santiment and want to see the latest fluctuations in different social trends. Great place to begin your digestion of today's news just by looking at the topics here. So awesome stuff. Let's also take a look at the trending words as of the past 24 hours and see what's popping up right now. All right, so we've got more Velo talk. I've seen over the past maybe 3 months or so, Velo has been a very big power player in terms of getting viral discussions about its latest initiatives. Has a lot to do with airdrops. Kind of noisy in my opinion. I don't think we need to discuss it much. But Kaido, Maxim, has been a big topic this week. Obviously being listed at on Coinbase, Binance, and KuCoin. That's led the charge in terms of discussion. But the AI-powered platform is just getting a lot of hype right now, along with its associated token.
Yes. Well, you know the setup. When any coin comes to arrives into first or second place and then leaves it, this is 80% of the time topish formation. So now it's getting to very dangerous territory for Kaido.
Right.
By the way, in the background, there are rumors around that Bybit was hacked or 1.4 billion outflows, suspicious outflows. So I think this word will appear soon on our top trading words. Next time we update it, will be there. And the market now crashing probably because of this. As you were talking, I checked a few things in the background why market are crashing, and looks like everyone now is talking about Bybit being hacked. Yeah.
I'm curious if we just
typical day in crypto. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see a little bit of growth going on in terms of discussion rates just in the last few hours. So yeah, you're spot on, Maxim. It's definitely starting to become a bit of an emerging topic right now. especially on Reddit and X, big time.
Yes.
And then trending coins, no surprise, we see Kaido here at number one. Litecoin, because of the ETF hype, I know that analysts, I think from Bloomberg, correct me if I'm wrong, but they said there was like a 90% chance that we would see an approved Litecoin ETF in 2025. So the price has been climbing. Social volume is, of course, going up surrounding this topic. And it's been a rather hyped asset for the first time in a long time. Sonic, formerly known as Phantom, lots of discussion, mainly due to its big price upswing getting near $1 now. IMG, I don't know much about IMG. I've seen it being mentioned in a few spots. It's mostly just related to price, it looks like right now, in terms of why it's trending. Bitcoin here at number 5, obviously with the hype of 100K getting near, that's going to cause an uptick in social volume. Maker, Maxim. I know we've talked about Maker a little bit on and off over the past couple of years. Do you have any context besides what's showing in the AI?
I know exactly what's going on. There is always like a regular tug of war for control in the Maker ecosystem, and it's a long story. So to cut it short, I shared the tweet which explains it quite nicely. What's happening the last days, and as a result, there's been accumulation of Maker to win government's war. Or votes in the governments. It had quite a good run. And then Rune, founder of Maker, came out with proposition to use 30 million out of their 100 million cash reserve to do buyback for Maker, so they have more control of what's going on. But now it should be also topish already. It will go down, I believe, because now potentially all good news came out, and typically announcement of buying back for 30 million comes more or less around the top. Very positive news,
Yeah. So in other words, it's kind of a buy the rumor, sell the news event.
But there was a drama. There was very heavy drama. No guarantee it's resolved, but now it played back. Maybe now time to go down a little bit too.
Makes sense. I know it decoupled. It went up about 25% or so in the last 24 hours. So the crowd is definitely starting to recognize it and talking about Maker, which doesn't happen much from a crowd perspective. So I'm impressed that it's up in the top 6. The coin Rise.
Was big story.
Yeah. So Rise is also related to IMG. So looks like these two are kind of going up in social volume in tandem together right now. I need to know more about Rise, as well as Toshi, which, by the way, has been trending all week long. So it's another meme coin that's apparently going to be listed on Kraken, and that's caused some hype for it. Look out for Toshi getting a lot of discussion as one of the featured meme coins over the next few months. I've seen some increasing conversations about it all over the place. C-Pool, and it looks like it's included in Binance Alpha's pre-listing selection. Again, don't know enough about it. And then XRP here at number 10, interestingly. So the approval of the world's first XRP-based ETF in Brazil. So yeah, it's not all about the US all the time. The Brazilian government has apparently approved the first XRP ETF. So that's going to get some increased attention, even if it's not the largest economy in crypto like the US is. So anytime you're getting ETF hype, no matter where it is in the world, that's going to cause social volume spikes all over the place. So there's our top 10. We haven't talked about Ethereum yet, Maxim, but maybe we can just briefly look at a few metrics here for it.
Okay. Yeah. Let's look briefly, and then I will need to switch off here.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we're hitting our conclusion anyways.
Yes, and by the way, guys who on the stream and have, if you still can, Bybit seems to be really If you can withdraw, advisable, if it's still possible. To be serious.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out what's going on there. But transaction volume for Ethereum, yeah, mostly declining, just like we see for Bitcoin. Circulation and active addresses about the same. And then I'm very interested to see what's going on with the MVRV. And it looks like because of this very mild bounce, we're kind of back in neutral territory for the 30-day average traders. Slight negative territory. Obviously, as we mentioned, Ethereum is one of the biggest underperformers over the past 6 months or so. So wallets that have been active in the past 365 days are actually down a little over 12%, meaning that buying right now has some justification based on average traders being so underwater. Funding rates are essentially neutral. Whale transactions are way down. In terms of like overall amounts of shark and whale wallets, so if we look at about 1,000 or more, we do see a pretty big climb since the start of the year. 150 new 1,000 to 10,000 ETH addresses have popped up. 10K to 100K wallets are also moving up. Not so much on the 100K to million. This is where you start to get more into exchange wallets, though. So I take these with a grain of salt. But yeah, I like the look of these two, Maxim. 1K to 100K wallets have been rising in terms of just the overall amount of them. And then if we isolate that same tier, 1K to 100K, and make it a different color than dark brown, pretty big rise. So if we go back about 2 months to November 20th, I'm sorry, 3 months, that is, their accumulation has been 1.78 million ETH, or about a 4.5% rise. That's a pretty big jump and the biggest I've seen in quite some time. Of course, take it with a grain of salt because of DeFi and staking and a little bit of blurriness when it comes to different sized wallets that are popping up on the network. But overall, this to me is a vote of confidence that maybe we're finally seeing a bit of a turning point for Ethereum if Bitcoin and crypto markets can stay afloat and start to maintain some positive bullish momentum.
Sure.
Mean
Also,
dollar
network
SRH.
activity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, the mean dollar SRH is the only one which is again accumulation phase, but it's sometimes it's a bit lagging. So this alone, if even doesn't look good, shouldn't scare you too much. There are other better metrics. I mean, better in a sense, showing positive signs. Like network activity is quite active. Since the bottom, a lot of network activity, quite healthy. Also, whenever price goes up, network activity follows. No obvious divergences yet. We'll see what will happen now with Bybit hacks. The information is that seems to be cold wallet for Ethereum was hacked. Yeah, so probably it's being dumped on the market a little bit. Maybe not, we'll see. But network activity in Ethereum quite healthy.
Yeah. And then realized we actually saw this big realized loss spike at the beginning of February. So that was interesting to see. And then we bottomed out shortly after, starting to see some minor signs of realized profits, but not quite anything notable like we saw back here. Supply and exchanges, by the way, look at Ethereum. It's really plummeted just recently. Over the past 24 hours, the supply and exchanges went from 6.36% to 6.08%. So 0.28% of all ETH was moved off of exchanges in the past 24 hours. I don't know if this is related to Bybit, Maxim, or something else, but that's actually, it's been a massive drop here in February alone. This is one of the most jarring metrics on Ethereum right now.
I think
15.6% of supply has dropped in February. Go ahead.
This withdrawal, what you see now, is exactly I'm pretty sure this is a Bybit hack now. Because 1.5 billion, that's a lot, and being moved from their cold wallet, and we'll likely keep track of it. So
right.
This drop you see now, this is the one.
Yeah, that's huge. Social volume pretty neutral for Ethereum right now. Weighted sentiment. Yeah, I'm going to do some research on the Bybit stuff because that's clearly the leading topic today, and we'll keep you guys informed. As Maxim mentioned, be safe if you've got money on Bybit or any exchange that has a hack, whether it leads to nothing or not. Just try to veer on the side of cautiousness, because this stuff has been well documented with FTX and many smaller exchanges out there over the past 5 years. If you're worried about the solvency on your exchange and their ability to maintain their liquidity, it's best to keep your coins in a safe spot until the dust settles, even if this is nothing in the long term. And then total amount of holders is about to climb above 140 million for the first time. We're always seeing this line going up for Ethereum due to the address splitting that goes on with DeFi and staking, stuff like that. But yeah, that's about all I got. Maxim, any final words you want to say before we sign off?
Any final, the famous final words.
Final words. Final meal.
The final, yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know. Not sometimes it's more clean or more clear where you should place attention. At the moment, it's really not investment. That's just the way how I play the game. Don't touch Bitcoin unless any of the governments turns the intentions to hold Bitcoin into real actions, like they really announce it. Okay, then probably it will be the time to sell Bitcoin. Okay, this one is relatively clear game plan. And you know why I mean sell when government announce? Because you will see price actions which will reflect the market is pricing in. It's a kind of news which we should probably sell. For Ethereum, waiting to see next wave of positivity till I see it. No, I'm actually in a slow accumulation mode. Solana I don't touch, and I don't understand probably also Solana background too good to be really exposed to such a volatile asset. And then there are plenty of good plays, hyperliquid. For Maker, I don't think it's over. It will be volatile, so there will be also long possibilities. Such a reshuffle of power usually leads to quite interesting games. And there is likely points in your interest too. Just tracking always the same, always the same. When something looks very bad, this is the time we need to overcome our fear. And it's not simple. I also not always capable of overcoming the fear, but if we do it a few times, it's usually rewarded.
Yeah. Well said, Maxim.
Kind of and final words here.
Totally. I completely agree with you. And I think this Bybit hack, and as more information comes out, this could very well put the rally on hold that we were seeing. Even, from yesterday, things can change on a dime with a major exchange hack and distrust starting to seep into the community. So let's see how this plays out. But just be safe as we head into the weekend, guys. And we hope you all have a pleasant weekend. Otherwise, don't make any extreme moves when you start to see major opinions forming on either the bullish or bearish narrative side. And we will keep you informed later today on some of the biggest stories. So monitor our social media and our insights page. And thank you to Maxim for joining, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Hope we're talking next week too. Yeah, bye-bye.